In Herman Melville's Moby-Dick, Starbuck serves as the first mate of the Pequod and emerges as one of the most significant and complex characters in the novel. His role in the narrative, symbolic significance, and broader implications provide a compelling counterpoint to the dominant figure of Captain Ahab and help anchor the novel's philosophical and moral explorations. Through Starbuck, Melville articulates themes of duty, conscience, religious faith, and the dangers of obsession, offering an ethical and rational perspective amid the tumultuous and often irrational pursuit of the white whale. Role in the narrative. Narratively, Starbuck functions as a foil to Captain Ahab. Where Ahab is consumed by monomaniacal vengeance, Starbuck is cautious, rational, and deeply moral. As the first mate, he is responsible for maintaining order and ensuring the safety of the crew. His professionalism and integrity are evident throughout the voyage, especially in the face of Ahab's growing madness. Starbuck consistently voices concern about Ahab's obsession with Moby-Dick, highlighting the potential consequences of letting vengeance dictate the ship's course. Starbuck's resistance, however, is marked by its limits. Though he recognizes the madness of Ahab's quest and contemplates taking drastic action to stop him, most notably in the scene where he considers killing Ahab while he sleeps, he ultimately cannot bring himself to commit such an act. This moment underscores a key aspect of Starbuck's character: his moral rigidity and deep adherence to religious and ethical principles. Even when he knows that action might save lives, he is paralyzed by the moral weight of murder. This inability to act decisively in a moment of crisis reflects the broader struggle between individual conscience and duty within hierarchical structures. Symbolic significance. Symbolically, Starbuck represents reason, order, and piety in contrast to Ahab's irrational, chaotic, and God-defying quest. As a devout Quaker, Starbuck often interprets events through a religious lens. His spirituality is not flamboyant, but is rooted in humility, duty, and reverence for God. He sees the voyage of the Pequod not as a personal crusade, but as a business venture with responsibilities to the crew and a higher moral order. Starbuck's name itself, evocative of a steady, reliable presence, reinforces his symbolic role as the moral center of the ship. He embodies the voice of reason and moderation in a narrative increasingly dominated by madness and extremity. In this way, Starbuck functions almost as a chorus in a Greek tragedy, warning against hubris and urging caution, though ultimately unable to alter the tragic course of events. His failure to stop Ahab can be interpreted symbolically as the impotence of reason and morality in the face of charismatic obsession and authoritarian will. Starbuck's internal conflict and ultimate inaction reveal the limits of rational protest within a system governed by charismatic authority. His character thus becomes a vehicle for exploring the challenges of moral responsibility, especially within hierarchical institutions such as ships or, by extension, governments and societies. Broader implications. Starbuck's role extends beyond the immediate plot of Moby-Dick to touch on broader philosophical and cultural themes. He can be seen as a representation of 19th century American values, especially those rooted in Calvinist ethics, the Protestant work ethic, and the principles of duty and faith. In this light, Starbuck's character interrogates the tensions between faith and reason, individual conscience and collective action, and duty and moral integrity. In a broader allegorical sense, Starbuck's dynamic with Ahab might reflect the struggles within American society between rational governance and radical individualism. Ahab's descent into obsession and Starbuck's inability to prevent it can be seen as a cautionary tale about the failure of moderates to counteract dangerous extremism. The novel was published during a time of growing national divisions leading up to the Civil War. Melville's portrayal of Starbuck may reflect his concerns about the inability of morally upright individuals to challenge destructive forces effectively. From a psychological perspective, Starbuck also embodies the conflict between the superego and the ID. His strict adherence to moral law, internalized social rules, and religious ethics stands in stark contrast to Ahab's primal rage and unbridled desire for revenge. The dynamic between the two thus dramatizes internal human conflicts, making Starbuck a representative of the part of the self that strives for ethical behavior even when faced with overwhelming emotional drives. Conclusion: Starbuck is a deeply resonant character in Moby-Dick, functioning on multiple levels: narrative, symbolic, philosophical, and psychological. He is the voice of reason, the conscience of the Pequod, and a tragic figure whose moral clarity is ultimately powerless against the force of Ahab's obsession. His character challenges readers to consider the limits of ethical action, the responsibilities of individuals within corrupt or dangerous systems, and the eternal tension between rationality and irrationality. Through Starbuck, Melville not only critiques blind ambition and destructive authority, but also highlights the tragic cost of moral inaction in the face of evil. In the end, Starbuck's fate, along with that of the rest of the crew, serves as a poignant reminder of the peril that can arise when the siren call of vengeance and pride drowns out the voices of caution and conscience.